Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
The dreaded check engine light. It's not just some random warning. You should think of it as a secret message from your car. And today, we're going to put on our detective hats and decipher one very specific code to solve a common misfire mystery. Okay, let's get into it.
So, what's the secret? Well, it's pretty simple. Something's not quite right deep inside your engine. But here's the good news. That code, P0302, isn't just a random panic button. No, it's your first and maybe most important clue to cracking the case.
Right, so what makes this particular code so special? See, unlike some vague warning that just leaves you scratching your head, P0302 is a laser-focused lead. It points our investigation directly to the scene of the crime.
And there you have it. Your car's brain, the powertrain control module, is constantly watching the crankshaft spin, thousands of times a minute. When it feels this tiny little hiccup, a stutter, specifically when cylinder number 2 is supposed to fire, bam, it flags this code. The amazing thing is, it's already done the heavy lifting for us by pinpointing the exact location. Now, this is a really key distinction to understand. If you get a P0300 code, that means the computer knows there are misfires, but they're happening randomly all over the place. That's a much bigger headache. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. But our code, P0302, that's the smoking gun. It tells us the problem is in one specific place, cylinder 2.
Okay, so a digital code is one thing, but how does that actually translate to what you're feeling when you're behind the wheel? Let's talk about the symptoms, because your car is talking to you in a language you can actually feel and hear.
So does any of this sound familiar? Think about it. When one cylinder takes a break, the whole engine gets out of sync. It might feel all shaky and rough when you're just sitting at a stoplight. Then when you step on the gas, it might hesitate or feel like it's stuttering. You might even smell raw gas from the exhaust. And that's because all that unburned fuel is getting dumped right out the back.
Okay, I need you to listen really closely to this next part. If that check engine light isn't just on, but it's flashing, that's not a warning. That's an SOS. Your car is screaming for help. This is a critical stop-what-you're-doing situation. It means the misfire is so bad that raw fuel is actively cooking your catalytic converter, which is a very expensive part to replace. Seriously, pull over as soon as it's safe to do so.
All right, Detective, we've got the location, cylinder 2, and we know the symptoms. Now it's time to line up the usual suspects. And this is where the investigation gets really interesting, because pretty much every misfire comes down to just one of 3 main causes.
Yep, you heard that right. For a cylinder to do its job, it needs a very specific recipe of 3 ingredients. When just one of those things is off or missing entirely, you get a misfire. It's really as simple as that.
So what is that perfect recipe for combustion? What could possibly be missing from our little crime scene over in cylinder 2? Well, it all comes down to the basic fire triangle we all learned about in school. And here they are, the usual suspects gallery. Suspect number 1, and honestly the most common culprit, is a lack of spark. This could be a worn-out spark plug or a bad ignition coil. Suspect number 2 is a lack of fuel. Maybe the fuel injector is clogged up. And our third suspect, which is usually more serious, is a lack of compression. That points to an internal engine problem.
Okay, so before we can start interrogating any of our suspects, the coil, the plug, the injector, we have to find the actual scene of the crime. We have to know exactly where cylinder 2 is located in your specific engine.
Now, on most 4-cylinder engines, and these are super common, this is a piece of cake. You just find the belts at the front of the engine, and you count back. 1, 2. There it is. Pretty straightforward, right?
But when you get to V6 or V8 engines, things get a little trickier. The cylinders are split into 2 banks, and the numbering isn't always obvious. For instance, on a GM V8, cylinder 2 is often the first one on the passenger side. But on a Ford, the numbering is completely different. See the problem?
And this, right here, is why you can't just guess. Please, don't start pulling parts until you're 100% sure. Your owner's manual or a quick, reliable online search for your specific make and model, that's not just a suggestion, it's your treasure map. It'll lead you right to cylinder 2.
Okay, map in hand, we've located cylinder 2. Now the real fun begins. We're going to run a brilliantly simple test that can help us either convict or clear our number 1 suspect, the ignition system. This is what we call the swap test, and it's a classic for a reason. It's so clever. You just find the ignition coil for cylinder 2 and the one right next to it, say on cylinder 3. You unplug them, unbolt them, and you literally swap their places. That's it. Then you clear the code and go for a drive. What we're doing here is setting a little trap. We want to see if the problem follows the part.
Okay, so what do the results tell us? After you drive and the light comes back on, you scan the code again. If that code moves, if you're now getting a P0302 for cylinder 3, bingo, the problem followed the coil. You found your guy. Case closed. But if the code stays put on P0302, well, that coil is innocent and our investigation has to continue.
And the best part? You can use this exact same detective trick on the other suspects. If the coil test didn't find the problem, you can do the exact same thing with the spark plugs. And if you're a bit more advanced, you can even do it with the fuel injectors. It's an awesome process of elimination.
Okay, so we've covered the what, the why, and the how-to, but that leaves one huge important question I know you're asking right now. The short answer? You really shouldn't. Well, yeah, the car might still move. Driving around with a consistent misfire is a huge gamble, and you're pretty much guaranteed to be causing more expensive damage with every single mile you drive.
Let's just put this in dollars and cents, okay? A new ignition coil, maybe $75. A spark plug, even less. But that catalytic converter you're destroying by driving, that's a $2,000 repair. Easy, sometimes even more. The choice there is pretty clear.
So, here's the final verdict. Limit your driving. Period. The only place you should be driving is straight to a repair shop or the parts store. Think of it this way. Every time that cylinder misfires, it's like pouring raw gasoline straight into your super hot exhaust. You are literally cooking that expensive part from the inside out.
So there you have it. You have the clues, you know the suspects, you know the stakes. The only question left is, now that you have all this information, are you going to be the detective that cracks this case yourself, or are you going to hand the file over to an expert? The choice is yours.